On this week's episode of The Grid, we're talking about AI-generated photos and artwork, and we have Kelby One instructors Tracy Sweeney, Terry White, and Ramtin Kazemi here, all talking about this issue because we want to help you out with it and stay ahead of the game. And it all starts in just a few seconds.
The Grid is brought to you by Platypod, the tripod alternative that is changing the world. Everybody has a Platypod. You should too. Go to platypod.com.
Well, hey everybody. As you can see, Scott is not here. He's over across the pond in your home motherland
yes.
of Portugal,
Yes.
right? Yeah, so he's over there in Portugal. He's hanging out with a bunch of people at his workshop, as well as Cheeky Nando, who's one of our moderators in our Kelby One community. And then also Mibo Madani's over there instructing with him. So he will be back next week. But while he's out, we really want to dive into a kind of an emerging topic. However, before we get there, Tracy, you're here in the studio.
I am. So excited to be here.
What you doing here in Florida?
I'm actually just enjoying your sunshine.
Oh,
it's been
yes.
quite gray in the Northeast, so we
Yes.
escaped catching a little sun and just having a little bit of a holiday, but wanted to see my friends here at Kelby, so thank you for having me.
Thanks for stopping by, and we're looking forward to this conversation. I know what's interesting about it is Tracy, this is a topic where Tracy kind of, she's seeing what's going on out in the world on this, but not really have dived into it too deep. And I really wanted her to be on this conversation because I think a lot of people are at that point where they haven't really seen a lot of this stuff. So at the other side of it, though, joining us via Skype, we have two guests. We have over there Ramtin,
Yes.
and then we have Terry White. And both of them, I know, are diving very deep into this subject. I know Terry, is going to, really key us in on the Adobe Firefly side of the world. And then I know Ramtin has really been getting into the AI artistry stuff. So just in a second, we're going to go through that. But before we get there, we got to do some housekeeping stuff. So a couple of housekeeping items. One, we have a big conference coming up next month. We have the Lightroom Conference, and everybody that's on this podcast here will be joining you at the Lightroom Conference as one of your instructors, as well as a bunch of other people. If you scroll down there, you can see all these people are going to be at the conference teaching you everything you need to know about Lightroom, Lightroom Classic, Lightroom Mobile, and I should really say Lightroom Pro, Lightroom for Children, and Lightroom Mobile. We'll be teaching all about all that good stuff over there at the conference. It's May 16th and 17th, so come join us. We've got tons of topics covering all these different topics, as you can see there. Really neat ones. I know Scott's got one on tethering to the iPad, which is really neat. Terry's got a couple really good ones about really figuring out which one of these options are for you. I know you're doing a class on portraits and making them pop.
Yes.
We got Remy's doing a landscape photography in Lightroom, like how to do that all in Lightroom. So it's just going to be a really awesome event. We just came off of our iPhone conference, which everybody loved. So if you want to check that out, go over to kelbyonelive.com and sign up. The other thing, let's think, what else do we have? Oh, I have a Milky Way workshop coming up this summer. So I've got a Milky Way workshop coming up this summer. If you go over to erikkuna.com, there's a link on there to the workshop. What's cool about that one is we're going to have Russell Brown there, which Russell is a wizard. And then I found out recently, we're going to have another Kelby One instructor there actually attending. Jefferson Graham is coming to attend the workshop as well. So if you're looking after this show to actually go out in real life and really create these images and not generate these images, then join us on this workshop. We're going to do like right there. We're going to do that. That was all done in one exposure in the camera through light painting. No AI generated anything, other than other things that we'll talk about, like AI generated noise reduction. But yeah, check it out over there. There's just a few spots left, so sign up if you want to attend. Then the other thing we have, let's see, we've got some prizes to give away. So we've got prizes on the show. Let's see, we're giving away the Platypod disc. So this is really cool. attachment that you put on the bottom of your tripod allows you to kind of like mount it every which way for you. It's really neat and has that little level on it as well. So giving away a Platypod disc, then we're giving away a copy of Scott's travel photography book. So we've got that, a copy of Scott's Light It, Shoot It, Retouch It book, which you can get all these over on Amazon, as you see there. There's only one in stock left of that. That Light It, Shoot, Retouch It's been blown up. So there's only one in stock left there, so make sure you get that one real quick, but I'm sure there'll be more shipped over immediately. So we'll also be giving away, speaking of AI, On1 No Noise AI 2023, an awesome plugin for removing noise out of your images. And that's the kind of traditional AI that we've been exposed to for a long time, but what we're going to be talking about this on this show is a little kind of step past that. And then we're going to be giving away one V-Flat from V-Flat Worlds. This is for US shipping only. So you go over to vflatworld.com and you enter the code Kelby10 at checkout, and you can actually, everybody can save 10% over there. So, yeah, I mean, they're great, right?
Oh my goodness.
I mean, just to be able to fold them up and put them in anything.
That's it. And then just have a white background, black background, so much you can do with it.
Yeah.
Posing, absolutely.
Yes. So definitely, if you want to enter those or for any of the prizes, just leave us a comment in the chat and tell us what you'd like to win. No matter where you are, we're monitoring Facebook, YouTube, our member site, anywhere you're watching the show, we're monitor that live. And then at the end of the show, we'll pick some winners from that. We also have trivia later, and then we have a Photoshop tip from Terry, and then we'll have a Lightroom tip from me a little later in the show. But I want to jump right into this topic here. So AI generated images, AI photography. This is kind of a new thing that's coming out. You know, we've had traditionally, you know, we've had the groundwork of this being laid, you know, things like Adobe Sensei that came out years ago now, or things like facial recognition, being able to recognize people's faces, you know, so noise removal, like I was talking about, sharpening tools, upscaling tools, basically where you're feeding a database, a bunch of different images, for example, like with noise, a bunch of different noisy images, and it's analyzing that and knowing how to remove the noise out of those images based on what it's been trained to do. And that's why it's called artificial intelligence, because it's mimicking the way we create intelligence, and that is we were born as a young child and we have to be taught these things, right? You know that.
Absolutely.
You have a bunch of children, right? You know, that's what we have to do. We have to teach them how to, and that's where we create this intelligence. So that's what these artificial intelligences are doing. However, the stuff that's happening now with this AI generated images is just incredible. Like, you know, let me just pop over real quick, you know, like here's Adobe Firefly, and you can see like on the site, these are images that have been generated by people from text. So you can see this person entered into the AI a stream of consciousness in a vast landscape, black and white. And the AI created these images based on that prompt. They are not copies of other images. They are trained from other images that then brought that in. But it's really cool that, you know, same thing over here on Midjourney, where these people, you know, this person prompted in a woman with long hair and a fishy head. And that's what it came up with, right? You know, that's what it came up with from that. So it's really cool that we have this. However, it brings and begs a lot of questions, right? And first, before we get there, what I really want to start out with is Terry and Remy really showing us. So Terry, I don't know if you're there. Yes, there's Terry.
I am here.
Hey, I don't know, Terry, if you could kind of, you know, first just take us through, like, Adobe Firefly, that's one of the ones on the scene now for these AI generated images. Explain to our audience, like, what is Firefly? What is Adobe doing with it? And then maybe show us, like, an example of what it can do.
I can do all of that.
Awesome.
So, hey, everybody. So Firefly is Adobe's entry into image generation. And that's what we're talking about here. Because like Kuna said, AI is not new. You've been using it actually for years in Photoshop and you've been using it for the last few years in Lightroom. When you, for example, in Lightroom, go into the masking and you say select sky, that's an AI figuring out what the sky is in your image and selecting it. So what's new for you, or new for most of the people watching, is going beyond that to actually AI generating an image based on its database of images. So Adobe's entry into this world is currently in beta, and it's two areas of the website are open right now. So firefly.adobe.com is where you would go sign up for the beta, and you can either use text to generate an image, just as Kuna said, and I'll show you that in a second. And also, what I'm even having more fun playing with is using text to generate text.
Yeah.
In other words, having text look like drips of golden metal, or have it look like diamonds, and having it not just like today, if we did that in Photoshop, you'd have a sheet of diamonds and you put text over it and fill it. No, I'm talking about the actual letters themselves have been crafted in those materials and metals and whatever you designed it as, or told it to be. So that's where we are with generative AI is what we're really referring to. So I'll give you a quick demo of what that looks like, and then we can continue to talk about how it might impact you as a photographer. All right, so I've got my screen up here, great. And I'm going to go ahead and click on text to image, and I'm going to click generate.
All right, and hold on one second, Terry. I'm just trying to make sure that they have your screen, because I don't
you know what?
see
They don't
your
have my screen because I didn't give them my screen. So let me
yeah,
give you
so
my screen.
I want to make sure, because we got to see it.
this,
This is big.
There we go.
Now your screen is backwards, Terry.
My screen is backwards. Oh no.
Don't know what's happening there.
Hold on 1 second. I may
Terry
have
White
to
has all these fancy
everything.
things.
He knows
He's got all these
everything.
fancy things.
No. Yeah, I'm gonna.
so
Okay,
excited
I'm gonna
about this.
disappear for a second, but I'm still here. I'll be right back.
Yep, no problem.
I honestly can't wait to see it.
Yeah, well, that's when if you want to show my screen there, like I was showing how Tracy, how the text thing works right here, and just put in her name, and it like you can just pick any styles, different things like you have back here.
Okay, is my screen not backwards
things
anymore when you check?
Let's see. Yes, now we're good. We're good, Terry. All
All
right.
Good. Turn off the mirroring for Skype. Got it.
There you go.
Okay, so now I'm in Firefly's website, and it is a website in the current beta. So I'm just going to click on text to image and click generate. And what I like about the site, and it's one of the great times in a beta, the UI is actually really, really good, is that they start off with examples. Because you may not know what to type. You may not know, like what you can get away with, what works, what doesn't work. So you get all these beautiful examples, and these were all generated by the site. And if you see one you like, which I see a lot of people doing steampunk stuff, so let's pick this steampunk clock aisle. Notice there's a try prompt button. So when I click on that try prompt, it shows me 4 versions of that were generated, and I can see the text that was used to generate that at the bottom. Well, I can also change it. So instead of a steampunk clock owl, I can say a steampunk clock puppy. And then when I click generate, that will now take that and interpret what I just said and generate puppies based on that.
Crazy.
And so that's exactly what you can never go wrong with babies and puppies. All right, so that'll give me that. And then over here you can get variations. So I can say, well, I don't want it square. I want it to be landscape, or I want it to be portrait, or I want it to be widescreen for a video. So I'm going to do landscape instead. It'll regenerate based on that. And then I can even get into different styles. I can say whether or not I want it to be a photograph or graphic. So if I do graphic, that's going to be more like a illustration, or not illustration, more like an illustration, line art kind of thing. Even though that still looks like a photo to me, but I'm going to go ahead and click art and just different variations of it. All right, so you get the idea there. Type what you want. The more descriptive you are, the more your results could vary. So I could say steampunk clock puppy on a beach at golden hour with big waves behind it, and then it would give me that. So just keep in mind that what you can imagine typing, that's kind of what you're going to get, hopefully. So let's go back, and let me get back out of the text to image and go text effects. So when I click generate, that'll give me, again, all these different examples, and I kind of like some of these already. I played around with that one. I mentioned gold earlier, so here's a gold one. And I can click try prompt. And it always will come up with the word Firefly because I haven't given it a word yet. But I could say the grid, for example. And now it's generating the grid based on this description. And you can kind of see what I meant by the gold is actually pouring over the letters and splashing. And it's not just, you know, a layer mask. It's actually creating the layers based, or the letters based on this. So this is shiny gold liquid drip. So I could say shiny silver liquid drip and get that instead. And see what that gives me. And there you go. Now it's silver. And the grid's, oh, the GERD. It helps when you type it right. Hang on.
It still works.
Yep, there you go. Got to fix it. So, and I can go change the fonts and change, you know, get some examples over here for samples. And this is just kind of what it gives you. Now, if I don't want a yellow background, I could say no background. And then I can download this to my hard drive, and it'll put it in my downloads folder, and I can then take that to the next level, whatever I'm going to do with it. No. Now, currently it is a beta. It is in not for commercial use at this point. And keep in mind that we're building a technology, not necessarily just a website to generate images. So where I see this going is you would be in Photoshop and someone's wearing a blue jean jacket, and you select the jacket and say, no, change that to a leather jacket. And it would do it. That's the kind of thing I see going forward with it being integrated into our existing tools. Yeah. So while this is fun to play with, this is really just to get the technology right and then go from there.
Yeah, and like Tracy just said, that excites her. That's like, but that's the thing, is we're laying the groundwork, right? I mean, what do you think? Right.
Oh, I'm just, anytime I see new technology, the moment, or as a creator, you think like, oh no, and we get scared, right? But I'm trying to do the opposite, and like, how can I use this? I'm already getting excited thinking about how to integrate this. Now, I photograph children, babies. I get asked all the time to change things, and it's tedious, it's daunting, it's overwhelming, and I'm not getting paid any extra for those changes. And so I'm thinking, like, for me, when I wrap up a baby in the studio, I can wrap them once and be like, change that wrap to a purple wrap, change that wrap to a blue cotton wrap, whatever it may be.
Yeah, different textures,
just to save time.
Right, yeah, that's what's so cool about this. Well, Terry, thanks for showing that. Stick around, because I have to. I want to get to showing this stuff, and then we got to dive into the actual questions, because there's a lot of questions that people are having about this topic. But first, I wanted to show people what they're going to do. We have to take a break, but when we come back, Remy, we want you to show what you're using this AI for, because if you haven't seen what Remy's using it for, it's pretty wild too. You gotta see that when we come back from the break. Hey, I'm Frederick Van Johnson. You can find me at frederickvan.com or thisweekinphoto.com. And today we're gonna dive into macro. We're gonna be going to the Florida Botanical Garden. That's where I am right now, doing a variety of photography on tiny subjects, from flowers to succulents, cacti, to bugs, all kinds of things. We're gonna be diving into the ins and outs of photographing this stuff. We're also gonna be using gear that you may already have in your pocket right now, the iPhone. Surprisingly capable device, the iPhone, especially for macro photography. A lot of the iPhone models have built-in macro lenses. So we're gonna talk about that. What are the ideal ways to do that? What steps to avoid? All that stuff. We're going to talk about all the gear that you need to do this kind of photography, but then we're going to take everything into the studio and do post-processing. So you'll see from me taking the camera out of the bag all the way through to the finished product. We're also going to talk about the techniques and some advanced techniques using Lightroom and Photoshop. So come join me for this macro course on kelby1.com.
Hi, I'm Dave Clayton. I'm a graphic designer from the UK, and I'm so excited to be back here at Kelby One for my 10th class. And just for a change, I'm not going to show you how to design anything. This class is called The Ultimate Guide to Setting Up Your Photoshop Workspace, and we're going to cover a lot. Have you ever got stuck in Photoshop and really wished you could change the way Photoshop can work for you? Well, in this class, we are going to do a complete in-depth deep dive into mastering your workspace, including your preferences, your workflow, how to export those settings, some really cool customizations, managing your fonts, and a ton of time-saving techniques, all to make your Photoshop experience finely tuned for the type of work you do all day, every day. So join me in this brand new class exclusively on kelby1.com.
This segment of The Grid is brought to you by B&H Photo, the professional source since 1973.
All right, we're back, and it's always good when on the break all the guests are talking because we're like really interested in a lot of this stuff. So I know Tracy's starting to, her mind's starting to spin, and we've got questions written down from you guys. I've got some questions from Tracy, so we'll get to that in 1 second. But before we get there, we've got two things. One, we're going to get to Remy, but first, we got a Photoshop tip.
All right.
All right, there you go.
All right. So this is, we lied. It's really not a tip. I'm going to give you a sneak feature. I'm going to give you something that's coming, something that you may not have even seen or probably haven't seen. Oh,
that's better than a tip. Forget it. I'm great.
Better than tip.
Yeah, better than tip.
This is future. So I'll switch over to my desktop where I've got an image here. It's a stock image. So let me go there. And on this image, there's a person, woman walking under a bridge in Budapest. And what distracts me is this thing coming down, this spike, whatever this is. And we're used to removing distractions from our photos. Now, the tool I would have reached for in the past would have been the spot healing brush. I would have started with that because that usually does a pretty good job of getting me started, and then I may have to tweak it a little to fix it. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's use a spot healing brush. Let's go ahead and paint that all in, and I already know what's going to happen. When I let go, it's going to be okay, but it's not going to be great. See, you can kind of tell something happened there. And zoomed out, you can probably get away with it, but then you start cloning and patching and doing a little bit to fix that. Now there's going to be a new tool. I have it right below this tool. It's called the Remove tool. So think about it this way. The spot healing brush, while we use it for this kind of stuff, it was always intended for blemishes, for small things, and it still does really great at that, and that's what I would use it for going forward. But when I want to get rid of something big in a photo like this, I'll use the same tool, different color, and then I'll go ahead and paint it in. And then when I let go, it's going to use something we've been talking about to figure out what that should look like. It's going to use AI.
Oof.
And there it is.
Yeah.
So the difference is AI is trying to say, when I remove this, what should it look like? As opposed to the spot healing brush saying, oh, I'll just use the pixels next door. I'll just use the pixels near it and fill it in. That's the difference.
Yes,
so
that is cool.
When you start thinking, AI scares me, keep in mind, these are the benefits of AI that we've been using for years, the neural filters, all the stuff that's in Photoshop for the last 5-6 years that have been AI based, we've been loving. So that will continue.
Well, that's awesome, Terry. I love that. That is a great, well, I know it's not a tip that we can use now, but it's good to know that that's coming because that is a big problem. I mean, we're both sitting here like, yes.
Absolutely.
Because we use the spot healing brush that way, but we're like, yeah, this would be a better way.
I'm constantly taking little people out of the background on the beach, and that would be so much easier.
Imagine someone standing behind a fence with a rail in front, and you just wipe down the whole person, and it figures out, oh, the rail needs to be there now.
That's awesome. Well, cool. Well, now flipping over, I know we were talking about AI and AI generated images and stuff. Remy, you've been doing something really cool that I've seen. I know if you're not following Remy over on his social media, go to like his Instagram. You definitely on your Instagram, you've shared a lot of this stuff, and it's really cool. AI generated, I would call them photo artistry of landscapes, but you're taking it even a step farther and then working with the AI to make it even better. So kind of explain to people what you're using that AI for.
Yeah, so hi everyone. Basically, Terry was just saying exactly what the system. I use Midjourney, and Midjourney is basically, the idea is exactly the same thing. It's just that it's just got a different interface. And you know, with Firefly, you would just go in and you would select your landscape mode and all that. And in Midjourney, it's just all about the prompts, and you change the way your image looks like depending on whatever prompt you give it. So if you wanted the landscape, you would just put in the prompt. It's a little bit different user interface, but it's the same idea, the same concept. And I use it to create, I don't know if you guys have my my images that I'm showing right now, but I use it to create photorealistic stuff like landscape, things like this. And excuse the version 5 there, but I just added that in. But I just try to create whatever, like I'm really having a lot of fun with it, creating photorealistic landscapes like this, like that, and you know, even, you know, like things like that. And it just, you know, I'm trying to just take it to the next level where I just, you know, have a lot of fun with it. And what Terry was talking about, like using that, like for example, creating a sky and using it on your actual images, and then taking it into Photoshop, add a little bit of more effects, and using the same techniques that I use editing my actual photographs, and you know, like things like this. And it's just, I can't believe the results versus, you know, a few months ago, and it's just becoming really, really interesting now. So I also use it to create some portraits that are realistic. Like for example, this one here. I mean, if you look at that, it's pretty hard to tell if that is an actual portrait or AI. And you know, things like even this one here, or you know, even that one there.
The last one you were on was hard.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So I'm just having a lot of fun with it basically, and it you know, that's pretty much what I use it for, just to create photorealistic stuff. Really, that's about it. But for now, anyway.
But you're going in. So what's your process for, like, it's like just break down, like, you know, just visually, like one of those images, those landscapes you were just on, like what's the process that you go through to like create that? Or is it mostly about the prompts? Are you adjusting as you go? Like kind of walk me through, like how would my mind create that? How does your mind create that using those prompts?
Yeah, 100%. So basically it is, like you said, it is literally all about the prompts. And the more you put in the description, the better the landscape becomes. And, you know, you can put things like photorealistic, UHD, ultra, you know, hyper realistic keywords that really work. And as the versions, and because it's still in beta mode as well, just like the Firefly, and it's getting better and better. So basically I will describe the whole landscape, and I will use a certain, you know, certain keywords like I was just telling you. And and I keep playing with the words until I get the result that I want. And it works exactly the same as Firefly, where it gives you 4 different results, and then from there you can start building it further. So if something didn't work for me, I'll just leave it, then I'll say, okay, maybe I'll take this keyword out and I put another keyword. And I end up with like a paragraph of keywords and prompts that finally give me the results that I want. I actually have a class on this that's going to come out on the Kelby one section, so look out for that. But yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with this, and the results are actually
Remy, do you even talk like composition in those prompts? Are you telling it like the
Yes.
layers that you want? Because like it's almost like you're trying to, from what I see, and because if you've never seen Remy's photography, you're definitely, it's like you're creating your photography with your mind through text, is what I see. It's like you're almost like framing up the shot, putting in the layers, putting in the foreground. Like it seems like you're getting very detailed.
But I think, in just a moment, Remy,
Yeah.
you have to take it a step further, because I was thinking about this. I often will sketch my images that I want ahead of time, because again, I'm working with people. I need to put them in the frame. But in this case, not only do you have to sort of envision in your mind, you actually have to verbally articulate this.
Yeah.
So that's a step further, because
Yeah.
we can see things, but we don't always know how to put what we
Words to
see
it.
into words. So that's why I see this being very different for artists, and going to actually, for individuals who have always thought themselves not to be necessarily creative, or weren't able to create art through, like, manipulating
Yeah,
with their
that-
hands.
yeah.
This is an opportunity to embrace that arena if they're just strong verbally linguistic.
You're actually, yeah, that's a great point, Tracy. I didn't even think about that, because like if you think about it, there's a lot of people who can't draw.
No.
They just can't draw. But they might be able to
Tell a story.
visualize that drawing, but now they could tell a story of that drawing,
Yes.
and
And that's what's
art
engaging.
can come out. Yeah.
And that's where the art emerges, is from that connection that we have from hearing stories and being able to visualize, when we read something, we're like, wow, I feel like I'm really there. But now actually
Very cool.
placing us in that setting, in the visions, and actually allowing your exact vision to come to life. It's fascinating.
Very cool. All right. Well, I want to now switch, right? So we've seen this. So we all seen this. So talking amongst all of us here, right? So we see this. That there's these tools out here. I really want to ask some questions here. So if we go up and scroll up, we'll kind of start at the top here. I know we got to take a break in a second, but let's start with Terry. So there's a question on Firefly.
Yep.
Does Firefly let you modify your own image?
Not in this first release. So this first release there's no import your image into it and then generate something based on your image. But you can kind of see again what I mentioned about it being incorporated into the other tools. That's not that far away.
Right. And then another question from Josh Hill. Will it be released as part of the Creative Cloud plan? Is this like something that goes to everybody? Like, is it open to everybody? I guess it's really kind of figuring out like who's going to have access once this gets out of beta. Like, is this going to be part of the Creative Cloud? Is it going to be separate from the Creative Cloud? Do we know that yet?
We don't know it yet, and again, this is not me telling you what it's going to be or what it's not going to be, but my guess, this is just Terry's guess, very clear, Terry's guess, is that it's going to be similar to the model for Adobe Stock, where like today you go to Adobe Stock and you search for landscape image shot, in Mexico, and you would get hundreds of pages or images of that, and then that didn't cost you anything, and then you find the one you want, and then you pay for it based on whatever stock plan you have. I would imagine that this would be similar to that if all you wanted was a generated image. Now, that's what you just saw today. I typed in something that gave me an image. But again, I don't see that being the case when it's incorporated in the tools themselves. If it's incorporated in Photoshop, as I go to a layer, I select what I tell it to generate something for that layer, then that might be, again, guessing, just part of your regular Creative Cloud as a Photoshop user.
Right.
See the difference? It's just,
Yeah.
it depends on what you're looking for.
Right.
I want a full-blown image from scratch. That you probably, I'm guessing, would pay for by the image. If you want it as a part of your image in the tools you're already using and subscribe to, then that's just part of the features of Photoshop and Illustrator and so forth and so on.
All right. Follow up to that. Right now, who's it available to in that beta? Like, is it available to current Photoshop subscribers? Like a beta, like who? Do you have to have a creative? Who could sign up for it? Basically,
Anyone can sign up for it. You don't have to be a
Anyone.
customer.
don't have to be a
Anyone can
customer. So yeah, so anybody can use this. Yes.
Yep,
Awesome.
anyone can use it in its current form. There's a tremendous demand, so signing up for it isn't. You don't get in instantly.
Yes,
it takes a while.
yes,
Some
takes a
people have
while.
been in. It's taken maybe a week to get it. Some people are still waiting. So it's a list,
Yeah.
and they're going through that list as quickly as possible.
It took me 5 days. 5 days.
Okay,
So,
there you go. 5 days.
All right. Question for Remy. I got a question for Remy, and then we have to take a break, and then I want to get into another whole different set of subject here. But can you use your luminosity masking techniques for landscape on these AI generated images?
Yes, absolutely. So what you can do is first you with your prompts create the image that you want to use, and then it just becomes a file that you just take it into Photoshop. You could do whatever you want to do or whatever you would normally do on a normal photo on that file. So it's really no difference. The only difference is that right now the resolution of what you're getting is not as good as it should be, in my opinion. But like I said, everything's getting better day by day. So I would definitely try, because what I use is Midjourney is a little bit different than Firefly, but it's within the last few months I have seen so much improvement happening, and I just cannot even imagine what it's going to be in a few months from now. But absolutely, you can use all the techniques that you would use on a normal file in Photoshop or Lightroom for that matter.
Yeah, and that's what's awesome
It's
about
pixels
this.
at the end of the day.
Yes, I mean that's what's awesome.
Exactly.
Is it's just an image. I mean, it is an image that has been generated from what the machine has learned, and that's what it's machine learning. Like it learned how to create that image, and it's amazing. All
Yes,
right,
and going back to the quickly, just when you were asking a question of for Firefly, can you import your images? You can actually do that with Midjourney. You can. What I do is I put my image into there. I will upload my image, then it will study the image and it will create an image according to what I put it into. So it will look at my composition, it will look at my lighting, it will look at my colors. You can describe colors, you can describe whatever you want. You can describe your focal length, like let's just say ultra wide angle. It's pretty interesting.
Remy, I have a question for you though. Now, once you have uploaded your image, are you now contributing that image to the community? Like, can that image then be regenerated for others in their vision?
Yeah, that is up to you. If you want to sign up for a private mode, you can sign up for that. Okay. You just have to pay a little bit more to Midjourney, and you can sign up so that all your work is private. That's totally up to you. You can make that decision.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's a great question, but that's how these things are learning, is by getting more and more input.
Content, exactly.
It's like what was that? Short Circuit back in the day. It's like more that robot was like more input. It just had to always constantly read, and it was like that's how it learned. It needed to constantly read. So these things need to constantly create images. Hey, we got to take a break, but when we get back, I want to talk copyright and legality here. This is the part that I think a lot of people have got questions about. So when we get back, we're going to talk copyright and legality when it comes to these AI generated images.
All right, the masking in Lightroom is crazy, and it keeps getting better. Adobe keeps adding so much stuff to it. They've added so much to it that I wanted to do a whole class just on the masking. I want to show you everything. I want to show you all the different tools, all the different functions, all the different features. You're going to be able to do so many neat things. Plus, you're gonna have to spend less time jumping over to Photoshop and jumping back. If you use Lightroom, if you use Lightroom Cloud, if you use Lightroom Classic, if you use Lightroom on your mobile device, for the most part, there's a little part missing on the mobile. We're not gonna talk about that. We're just gonna pretend it doesn't exist. But if you have Adobe Camera Raw in Photoshop, and you're not using this masking stuff, I'm telling you guys, this is the real deal. This stuff is gonna make your life so much easier. It's gonna make you faster, more productive. You're gonna get twice the work done in half the time. Come check out my brand new class on mastering masking, and it's exclusively at Kelby One.
Hey guys, I'm Tuvi, and I'm going to show you two really cool products that we at VFlat World sell. So the first one is our Duo boards, which are double-sided, hyper-realistic backdrops for food and product photographers. They come in two sizes. This is the larger side. We have all different types of textures and designs. These are some of the new ones that came out recently, and they also, there's a bag option available for them. And our other product, which is what we actually started the company with, it's called a V-flat. It's a foldable V-flat, and it's used for portrait and studio photographers to control light on their subjects, to either add light with the white side or use the black side to subtract light, or even block like an unwanted window light coming in.
People say to me all the time, Jeff, you don't really take all those pictures on the iPhone. You're kidding, right? You actually shoot with other cameras. I do shoot with other cameras, but the majority of everything I do is on the iPhone. I just treat it like a professional camera with time-honored photographic techniques, and I would like to pass some of my tips and tricks off to you in my upcoming Kelby One class about how to shoot the iPhone like a pro, the advanced version. What will you learn? Let me tell you. I'll show you how to do great panoramic images, long exposures handheld, stop action with burst mode, portraits and lighting, how to do great headshots on the iPhone. We're gonna show you night mode, shooting in the night, which is really cool. And of course, everybody's favorite, sunsets worth framing on the wall. Come join me, Jefferson Graham, at kelbyone.com.
This segment of The Grid is brought to you by Canon.
All right, we're back, and we've taken your questions. We got tons of questions too, and I want to get into some questions on the ethics and the copyright on these AI generated images. But before we get there, we've got a Lightroom tip. Lightroom tip, yeah. All right, so I'm going to give you a little Lightroom tip here, and this is for images. Like look on the screen here. You got an image where the subject's in shadow, and I was balancing. You're always going for the highlights. So the sky is really what I'm trying to make sure is not blown out or exposed, but then it leaves my subject kind of in shadow. Mm-hmm. So what do we do with this to kind of make it pop? Well, here's we're going to go over here, and we're going to use those AI tools, mm-hmm. right? I'm going to just hit this select subject, right? And this is what we know. We come in here and we select the subject, and then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to increase the exposure, mm-hmm. and then increase those shadows, right? And then I'm maybe going to warm that up a little bit too, because it's a little bit cold, right? Because it was in shadow. And then I'm just going to increase my texture. So I've done what I want to do to my subject, given it the subject more definition, opened it up a little bit, and done that. But now, if I've got it there and I'm like, hey, you know what? That's cool and all, but now my background mm-hmm. is a little too bright. I want to even separate it more. Well, all we got to do is go up here. We're going to right click over here and hit that duplicate and invert mask, right? And what that's going to do is duplicate that mask, but then invert it. So now we got the background. So now all I can do is come in here, decrease the exposure, maybe decrease those highlights a little bit, and maybe even change that color temperature a little bit more, to make it a little bit more pronounced, and then take out some texture and some clarity, again, adding some more separation. So you can see just a few clicks. I didn't do anything. That's just what I did with the raw file. We went from there to there, right? Really makes it start standing out. And now we could go through, we could actually edit our image, but you can see how really quickly we can do that. Now, does it matter that it's a raw file? No, I mean, here, same thing. This is from a phone. This is a JPEG. Same thing. We come over here, do that same thing. We can come over, do select subject. Now with this, you can see how it caught some of the clouds up here. So if we wanted to take that out, we just hit the minus key, go to the brush tool, and I can just paint those things out that we don't want, right? Right there. So we don't want that. And oh, I don't want this either. So the AI did an okay job, right? So then we can go and do that same thing we're doing. Increase that exposure, increase those shadows, come in and change the color temperature a little bit, maybe increase that texture, and then I can come right up here, right click, and hit duplicate invert, do the same thing I was doing before, and you can see just a few clicks, we can go from that being in shadow to that being, you know, just more perfectly balanced. So again, it doesn't matter what kind of files they are, JPEGs, RAWs, phone images, DSLR, mirrorless images, whatever, you can do that trick with. So there you go, that's your Lightroom tip. But hey, let's see here. Question, so now moving back to this AI topic, right? I hear something, I don't know if, are you guys still there? Is
Yep.
Remy, all right, just making sure because I'm hearing something in my ear. Question for you guys. So, and maybe Terry, you might from the Adobe side of it, like how does the legality work with these AI generated images? Does anybody really know? I don't, I gotta be honest, I don't know. Do you know, Terry? Like, how does the legality work?
Well, that's obviously one of the big concerns from everybody across the board, whether you're a photographer, whether you're just a user. And let's say you're an end user.
Yeah.
You want to know that you're not going to get sued for generating an image based on someone else's image and you use it commercially. So one of the things that Adobe took the approach of doing is making sure that the images we train the AI on, we have the legal rights to. So that if you used one of those images, just like if you bought a stock image, you could use it within all the things that are defined in the user agreement without worrying about someone coming after you. And all the other AIs out there, Midjourney and all the other ones, the problem with those is that they haven't necessarily acquired the rights for the images that they use to train their AI. Victoria uses Midjourney all the time, and she shows me, she said, come over, look at this. And it'll be an image she generated, and it'll have literally someone's watermark on it.
Oh, wow.
Because
that's not good.
Where was the database trained? Did it just scan the internet? And so that's what we're making sure we're not doing. Now, one of the things that sometimes comes up as a criticism, even for Firefly, which isn't released yet, is, well, wait, Adobe Stock lets you submit images that are AI-based, generated from Midjourney, so aren't you training on those? And the answer is yes, for the beta, but those will be removed in the final product.
Okay.
So that's our approach to making it legal.
Okay.
Yeah, now what about copyright? Like, who owns the copyright on an AI generated image? Like, how is, I mean, I don't know this answer that either.
I don't think the courts have really figured that out yet because we're all in new territory.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you generate an image in anybody's tool, and it was based on 70 images in that tool, and that could be just a modest amount, by the way. Well, the 70 images that were used to generate it, obviously those all came from various sources that all potentially have copyrights. So you couldn't technically copyright that image because it was never yours to begin with. Just like if I were to take my own landscape picture and I go replace sky, and Adobe gives you multiple skies to even play with, and I use one of those. I can't legally copyright that image because that's not my sky. I didn't shoot it. So even taking AI away from it, the fact that you're using an image that isn't yours means you can't copyright it. Doesn't mean you can't legally use it. It just means you don't own the copyright to it.
Yes.
Okay.
So Remy, like, what's your thoughts on that topic? Like, what do you think? Because I mean, I think that's where, you know, with me, this whole AI thing has got me questioning a lot of things like copyright and like who owns the image, like who owns image creation. Like it seems like we're all copying each other, you know, in a little bit of a way. But what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that at the moment, again, since, as Terry mentioned, this is all new territory, so they don't necessarily have all the legalities figured out yet. But as long as far as I know for Midjourney, what they say right now is that when you create the generated image, you don't own the copyright to it, but you can commercially use it. That's all the information that I have at the moment. So I don't know if that's going to change in the future or not, but that's basically what I know.
And then I'm thinking, again, going back to the linguistic, I think many of you know my background is in English, is like a series of words and prompts, almost in a form of, let's call it like a poem, if you will, and that's what generates the art. Can I have the rights to that series of language?
Do you have the rights to the prompts?
That created the art.
Well, I think that's a big thing right now. I see a lot of people out there just selling prompts. You know, like they're literally just selling prompts, which, I mean, I guess that's, I mean, part of it, that's the work that you go into creating this stuff, is you need to figure out, like, what are the English words that you have to put in this order in order to create the prompts to make it do that. Like, that's a big thing if we go to ChatGPT, you know, and all that stuff. But, you know, we don't want to go there.
Go down there.
So,
I can see one other benefit, though, too, is I work a lot with models and getting model releases and whatnot. Like, in this case, we don't even need to worry about model releases anymore.
Yeah, that model doesn't exist, right?
It's not a real person.
Yeah, that's where this is an interesting one. That's why I wanted to bring up this topic really in front of us, because this is one of those things that is it's emerging and moving so fast right now. Right. And that's where I say, like, I am starting to really, like, with more I interact with some of these AIs, like ChatGPT, and you look at it and you're like, wow, like, it really makes you question what is intelligence.
Absolutely.
And how is intelligence created, and how has all this stuff come together. But hey, we got to take a break. But coming up next, we have another special guest joining us, hopefully, and I don't think anybody knows about this, so we'll see.
Hey everyone, Rick Salmon here. I am so excited about my latest Kelby One class. It's on action photography. Now in this class, I'm going to show you how to photograph birds in flight, horses jumping, BMX bikers flying through the air with the greatest of ease, and dogs running at top speed. The class is jam-packed with tips, tricks, and techniques that you could apply to all types of action photography. And of course, I'm going to cover all the different lenses that you could use to tell your story. Now we're going to keep the fun going in the studio, where I'm going to show you some photo processing techniques. My friends, please join me for my latest class only on kelby1.com.
I'm Mary Bell. Come join me in my new class on creative portrait photography using outdoor lights. Have you ever struggled with using midday sun to light your portraits and light your subject? I'm going to show you some creative ways in which you can play with midday harsh sun. We're also going to play with using architecture in your frame to frame your subjects and or to make beautiful fine artwork. We'll use leading lines, play with composition. We will hide from the sun, show you creative ways to use midday sun. Additionally, we're also going to dance around with some creative ways to use golden hour sun. And guess what, guys? In this class, we're going to combine harsh midday sun with diffuse light. So come join me now and watch my new class on kelby1.com.
This segment of The Grid is brought to you by Platypod, the world's most compact tripod base.
All right, we're back, and we've got a special guest joining us via satellite all the way across the pond. Let's see if we can get him. Oh, there it is.
There it is.
Live from workshop. Hey, how's it going, Scott?
Hey, I'm going good. I can't see you, so I'm assuming you're there. But we are in beautiful Lisbon, Portugal. Jason's here with me, as is Kiki Nando.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
Good to see you.
And Kelly One instructor Mimo Madani is here with us as well. And we're doing a travel photography workshop, and we're hanging out. Jason and I have done some classes. We've had a lot of fun, a lot of laughs. Lisbon is gorgeous. The weather's gorgeous. And we are at this very kind of space age architectural design museum.
Yeah.
And it has a fake Golden Gate Bridge in the background. All right, and hold on. Let me see if we have this device over here. Oh no, I was going to show you this. Anyway, you can see some folks over here shooting. They're with our workshop. There's 12 of us, and then me, Mimo, Jason, and
It sounds like you got a dog on location too.
Yeah, we have dogs here. We have a dog.
And you got Kaylee Greer there.
We got some dogs. We got the dogs.
Well, cool. Well, we're just we're talking with Terry and Remy here about this AI stuff and these AI generated images, and it's wild, I'll tell you.
Oh man, I bet. I wish I could watch the show. I'll have to watch it when I get back. But yeah, the AI stuff is crazy. We've been talking about it and showing stuff in class today and stuff because we go shoot on location, and actually we're leaving where we are and going to our sunset here in a few minutes. So we're picking up our bus. We have a little 16-passenger bus that cruises us around, and we get on there and we start drinking and heroin, and it's really bad. It's bad.
I've seen some pictures. Yeah.
Hey, let me tell you who's shooting lights out though. Freaking Jason is getting shots, dude, and he's shooting with his iPhone, and he's doing time lapses with his iPhone. He's got some time lapses that are like out of this world. Now, it's not fair because he is a video guy and he understands that stuff better than video photographers. But let me tell you, he is shooting lights out. If you're not following him on Instagram, what's your Instagram account? Don't tell me it's Jason Stevens.
Jason Ralph Stevens.
Jason Ralph Stevens. That's his name on the Supreme Court.
Yes, because we switched him off of Dark Request.
Yes, Dark Request. Man.
Jason, come on.
And let me tell you, Eric, when we go out of town, when Jason and I go on these trips and we record classes on the road, we kind of lax the rules. But let me tell you something. When Jason's away from home, he says the most inappropriate things you've ever heard in your entire life. I'm telling you what, Cheeky drove off the road several times. Just messed up.
True story. It's a true story.
Messed up stuff.
It's a true story.
And then you go, he needs to change his Instagram handle back to Dark Request because it's messed up. So the only thing that's saving him is that his photography is so good and his videography is so good that we let him stay. But otherwise, he'd probably be in jail. It's been a wild ride, let me tell you.
Well, I'll tell you, I've seen his stuff. It's great. Yeah, there he is right there behind the camera. Hey, and I saw a picture of Jason the other day. It looked like he was coming in hot a little bit, though. Looked like he was
A
coming
little
in
bit. He's
hot.
much better this time. He doesn't come in quite as hot. He doesn't look like a SWAT team member wherever we go. And we have not been denied access to anywhere. We've been able to go everywhere without Jason having us either frisked or thrown out. So that's kind of nice.
Well, the Portuguese are kind.
Put the camera over on Chiquinando for a minute. Can I tell you something? You're seeing the most helpful man in the world. Chiquinando has been amazing. He's been doing so much great stuff, and he's been so incredible.
Thank you, guys.
And
Come on.
he's pulled off some mini miracles for us. So
well, little tiny miracles.
and also he's very humble. But let me tell you, he's a wonderful ambassador for Portugal. And I don't think a lot of the words he says, I don't think are really Portuguese. It just sounds like kind of made up language. It's like they have a different word for everything.
We do.
So messed up. All right, we have to head to the bus because we got to go to our shoot at 7 o'clock. So we're heading out. So we got to run. But thanks for letting us pop in on the show and you guys.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see you when you get back.
All right, take care, everybody.
All right.
Bye, Scott.
And I'll tell you, that's what those workshops are awesome for it. And we'll be in just a couple weeks up in New York City doing a workshop, me and Scott. But Scott has one at the end of the year. You can go sign up for over at scottkelbyworkshops.com. Going to London.
Oh wow,
London,
another
England.
great city.
So another great city. So, all right. Well, that was awesome. We got to do that. But hey, I don't know if we can get Remy back, but I know we got Terry still on the line. Do we have Terry still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
So, question here from Philip. These images that are coming out of these AI systems, what kind of files are they giving you guys? So, JPEGs, RAWs, like what is it? What are these files?
So, Firefly is generating PNG ping files. And I imagine most of them are generating JPEGs or pings. So, no RAW files.
What about you, Remy? What are you generating, like over there, Midjourney, JPEGs?
Yeah, they're just giving you JPEG for now, so we'll see what happens later. Like I said, it's still in beta mode, but for now it's JPEG.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that file format. It's a great file format. So, and of course, the other thing that's great about those AI generated images a lot of times is the exposure is perfect. The stuff looks perfect. So it's not like you need a raw file. The reason a lot of times we need a raw file is we don't have those perfect settings, and we need to make those perfect settings.
That's a good point. I never thought of it that way, that the reason you want to shoot in RAW is so you can get the best image from your sensor that you can then adjust. But if it's already perfectly adjusted.
And if it's not, you can just go in the prompt and say, hey, adjust the exposure.
Adjust this.
So it's perfect.
That's exactly it.
There you go.
Speaking of which, I got some examples if you guys got another 2 seconds.
Yeah. Let's show us. I know you were talking about like fonts and stuff. Yeah.
Yep. All right. So here, let me pop over to my computer. So I updated the grid a little bit. So I had it, and I was hoping to catch Scott, but it was liquid drip with old camera lenses, strobes, memory cards, tripods, and chicken sandwiches.
I was trying to figure out what that was.
So see, that's
that's
crazy.
You know, it's custom.
That's
it
wild.
took all those elements, you told it, and it made a font out of those elements.
Wild.
Like, do you realize what that would have taken it back in the day?
Oh, yeah. This would take hours, if not days to do it manually.
Every camera shape is different. It's not just the same camera shape, replicated.
And I'm telling you, that's why I want to talk about this. It's not like we did a topic a few years ago, is AI coming for your jobs? And here's the thing. I think a lot of people are thinking AI is coming for your job. But I think what AI is doing is just helping us with our job.
Yep.
Because right there, that's a perfect example. If you could create that amount of artwork and that amount of detail, I mean, you still had to think up. Terry had to think up, I want to put chicken sandwiches in there.
I know. And I just added the word purple.
Yep.
So there you go.
And it just immediately updated it. Yeah.
2 more quick ones. This one, you see a lot of this old cottage. I decided to add red and then add cameras to it, so you get something that looks like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or that.
Yeah.
And again, generated from scratch. And then lastly, because I don't usually show people, because Sometimes people can be messed up, but this is just one I just quickly did. Side portrait face, ocean double exposure portrait.
Wow.
That's cool.
So at golden hour, let's do that.
Yeah, I noticed like with portraits, I was telling Tracy earlier, I noticed with portraits, the eyes are a big tell with me. I don't think it's perfected the eyes, or also some of our facial features like our noses and the shapes.
Well, in this case, where we have the profile,
it's a lot better
because we're not trying to compare the symmetry.
Yeah, it's a lot better when you're not comparing the symmetry and you're not looking at micro variations. And
our brain doesn't have that second blink to go,
But if you think about it, your brain is learning the same with that. The reason we're able to see that is because our brain learned that.
You're right, from our experiments over time.
Crazy.
Yes,
And then that's where this is, but that's what Remy said that, right? Remy, you were kept on saying, it's only like, this is where it is now. And
correct.
Like I know, like, since you've been playing around with Remy, it's gone from like 0 to like, I mean, it was like beta 0, but like, it's like really amped up. I noticed this last, like Midjourney, I've noticed since they went to this new version, it's really gone way up. Right, and it's going to be the same with Firefly, right? So,
yeah, this is, again, you got to remember, this only came out from Adobe a couple weeks ago. It's already doing
I didn't even realize that.
What's it going to be like 2 years from now?
Wowza.
Now, Remy, question on the Midjourney side, what's the maximum resolution you're getting out of that?
At the moment, I am getting roughly an equivalent to, I would say, probably around 12 megapixel up to even 24, depending on what version you're using. So somewhere around there.
Okay, so Remy, have you taken an AI upscaler and tried to AI upscale that 12 or 20 megapixel image? Because I've got news for you. I can take a 12 megapixel iPhone image and I can make it a 48 megapixel, and you cannot tell it. Yeah, like it actually looks better with some of these AI tools. So Remy, that might be next on your list. You need to go. You get like a great one is On1 Resize AI, and it has that their resize logarithms and then the AI tools, and I mean you can just upscale that right to 48 megapixels.
Yeah, no, I think it's pretty interesting. You're right. I haven't tried that yet, but I'm really interested now that you mention it to actually give it a try and see what it comes up with. But like I said, with all these little tools that we have, I can only imagine it's going to get better, and I'm very excited to see where it's going.
Wait, we got to take a break, but before we take a break, I'm going to let you guys. I know I've taken enough of your time, but for them to learn more about you. So, Remy, where do they go find more about you?
You can go onto my website, ramyk.com. Obviously, mainly I'm a photographer and I do workshops, and that's what I mainly do. But ramyk.com, and then on Instagram, Remy, RAMMY.photo. And yeah, give me a shout and we can chat about it.
And I will say, a personal testimony, if you're a landscape photographer and you're looking to go on a workshop, because Scott and I have both been on Remy's workshops, go on Remy's workshops. You will, his way of just looking at a landscape and the composition and all that, it is a great investment of your time. So go check it over at ramyk.com. All right, Terry, where can we find out more about you?
You can see everything I do, videos, blogs, everything, Instagram, portfolio at terryleewhite.social.
All right, there we go. All right, well, thanks for joining us here today. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back. We got to do prizes,
yes,
we got to do trivia,
all the fun stuff.
And then we got to just wrap up the show here because we're already over time. So, but I appreciate you guys joining us for this topic, and I can't wait to see where this goes in the future. We'll have to have you guys back on once we gets to that 3.0.
Oh, I can't wait to see.
Hey, I'm Frederick Van Johnson. You can find me at frederickvan.com or thisweekinphoto.com. And today we're going to dive into macro. We're going to be going to the Florida Botanical Garden. That's where I am right now, doing a variety of photography on tiny subjects, from flowers to succulents, cacti, to bugs, all kinds of things. We're going to be diving into the ins and outs of photographing this stuff. We're also going to be using gear that you may already have in your pocket right now, the iPhone. Surprisingly capable device, the iPhone, especially for macro photography. A lot of the iPhone models have built-in macro lenses. So we're going to talk about that. What are the ideal ways to do that? What steps to avoid? All that stuff. We're going to talk about all the gear that you need to do this kind of photography, but then we're going to take everything into the studio and do post-processing. So you'll see from me taking the camera out of the bag all the way through to the finished product. We're also going to talk about the techniques and some advanced techniques using Lightroom and Photoshop. So come join me for this macro course on kelby1.com.
This segment of The Grid is brought to you by B&H Photo, the professional source since 1973.
All right, we're back, and it's time for some trivia.
Trivia time at Kelby One, yeah!
I'll make it really easy. All right, this week's trivia I'm going to make real easy because I wasn't prepared for it.
I don't know.
So, hey, trivia question. The first person to tell us, the two guests that we just had on, what are the websites where you can go to learn more about them? First two guests, put that in the chat, win a prize.
There you go.
There you go. All right, so speaking of find out more about you, where can they find out more about you, Tracy?
Awesome. Well, you can check out my work. My studio is named Elan Studio. That's E-L-A-N. You can check me out at www.elan-studio.com. And then over on social, on Facebook at Elan Studio. And here's my Instagram under Tracy_Sweeney. So definitely check it out. Feel free to ask me any questions. I get messages all the time, and I'm always happy to answer your questions.
Yeah, and if you're in the area and you're looking for like kids, newborns, family pictures, this is the person to get, right? I mean, your stuff's just incredible. Look at that.
Thank you.
I mean, that's awesome.
Coming off of Easter, yeah, I had all these bunny photos. Just too cute.
I mean, I just don't know how you hate your job. That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, that's where I wish I could a lot of times get into portraits more because I do, especially kids. I mean, my sister-in-law just had a baby, and it's just incredible. Babies are incredible.
And this is where the AI does not scare me because no one's coming after. The AI is not going to take over. Like, I still have to photograph those babies.
Well, that's another part of this conversation, right? I mean, that's where, you don't have to be scared. I mean, obviously, we want to talk about this on this show because we should be ahead of these things. We should be looking at these things as photographers, but also knowing that, if you're into events, if you're into people and again those of life events, experiences, sports, things that the AI is never going to.
It's only going to enhance it.
It's only going to replace that if we ever decide to just plug ourselves into machines and just not actually go out in the real world. I don't know if we actually go around that metaverse thing.
And we have more to worry about then anyway. So.
But well, cool. We got to give away some prizes. So those V flats that we were talking about earlier, Sharon Scarf.
I can't. Oh yes, I'd say scarf.
Yeah, I say Sharon Scarf. We won the V flat.
That's awesome.
Philip Columbus, Light It, Shoot It, Retouch It book. We got Carolyn N is winning the Platypod disc. Roy Evans is winning the On One No Noise AI, because that's the buzzword now. You got to have that AI in there. And then the travel photography book is going to the trivia winner, which was Jack
Kojin.
I want to say Kojin. There you go. And if you just email us, if you won, over at gridprize@kelbyone.com, we'll verify your information and then send you out your prize. Just make sure you do that by Friday. We do have a deadline of making sure you get us by Friday. So there you go. All right.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks
Always
for
a
coming
pleasure.
on.
Love being on the show.
I loved just your reactions and just seeing that, because I think that's how a lot of us are right
Genuinely
now.
excited.
We're just excited about it. And I do see where there's going to be people that are going to be resistant. I think what we were talking about, don't be with this stuff. My encouragement to our audience, don't be like those people back at the turn of the century that went, I ain't giving up that Kodak. That film ain't leaving I'm never going to put a memory card in, never. Just don't be that person.
No, don't be Kodak. I hate to say it.
Yep, don't be it. Because this is just, it's a reality of where we are at. If we use it and we're out there using it and we don't, we use it for good and use it to uplift, those are the other things.
And for time, to get back time. I always just want to get back some time.
I agree with you. It's going to be a time saver, big time saver. It's going to be an interesting, brave new world.
Awesome.
So there we go. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for coming on the show,
you.
and thanks to Remy, and thanks to Scott, and also to Terry for joining us. We'll see you guys next week.